She started banging her head on the floor really hard. While I held down the girl's ankle, I felt something trying to enter my hands. Later on, I went to a temple to talk to the medium about the incident. When I told her what happened, she immediately got chills and refused to say much. She said that night, there wasn't just one spirit, there were several watching from the crowd below.
欢迎回到零度空间。
Today we're going to talk about your story, your ghost story. And one more thing, the last thing I want to mention is the Star Awards are coming. So please help me vote. Thank you. Top 10 most popular female artists, Joey Pink, Lynn Gexon. On the day of the Star Awards, you can vote as many times as you want. You can vote from midnight to 7 p.m. 19 hours of non-stop voting. Thank you. Okay, let's get back to the topic.
So today we've already chosen 5 stories. I really want to thank you all every day. Well, not every day, but
Almost every day.
yeah. They always send us a lot of stories and they're really wonderful. It's really hard to choose, but we just take our time. Okay, if your story wasn't chosen today, it's okay. Okay, just keep sending them to us. Now, besides email, we also have a Google form. Okay, you can use that form in our description box or comment box to write and send your stories to us, okay? Okay, let's go.
All right, the first story I chose today is from David. Okay, this happened in a hospital. I don't know which hospital. You can look it up yourselves. Okay? So David, at that time, he was working as a nurse intern. Okay, so that's what happened at that time. Okay, let's start his story, okay? Hi Hellbank, I'm a nurse and I'd like to share a horror story that actually happened to me during my first clinical posting back in 2022. During my internship, I had a terrifying experience in the B2 class ward where I was assigned to care for 5 patients who shared a common bathroom. One afternoon during my 1 to 9 p.m. shift, I was going about my usual duties, performing ward rounds when one of the patients, whom I'll refer to as Uncle A, called me over. He told me he had seen a man repeatedly walking in and out of a shared toilet and asked me to close the door and speak to the man. Confused but wanting to reassure him, I followed his request and shut the door. But when I looked inside, there was no one there. Later, I spoke to my staff nurse about the incident. He explained that Uncle A had a history of mental illness and had previously been admitted to the Institute of Mental Health. I am hatched. This reassured me, and I assumed what Uncle A saw was just a result of his condition. However, things took a darker turn that evening. Around 6 p.m., during my medication rounds, Uncle A approached me again. He said he had seen the same man entering the toilet and handing him an earplug. This caught me off guard, so I took the earplug to my staff nurse for clarification. When he saw it, he looked visibly shocked and asked where I got it. I explained that Uncle A had given it to me. To my horror, my staff nurse told me the earplug actually belonged to another patient, an elderly man who had passed away just the day before. What was even more unsettling was that Uncle A had described the man exactly as the one who had died. As the night wore on, I continued with my shift at around 8:30 p.m. While working on my report in a quiet corner of the ward, with the lights dimmed, I saw something that made my blood run cold. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a dark figure sit up from one of the beds and walk towards the toilet. Curious, I checked the bed. Uncle A was fast asleep. Thinking this was just my imagination, I went back to my report. But it happened again and again, 3 times in total. I saw the same figure. Finally, I went to check on Uncle A once more, only to discover he had no pulse, was cold to the touch, and wasn't breathing. I immediately called for my staff nurse and the doctor, but we quickly realized Uncle A was a palliative care patient and there was nothing more we could do. As we began preparing for the body for the family, something even stranger happened. While my staff nurse stepped out to get some wipes, I suddenly felt a cold gust of air brush against the back of my neck. I ignored it and kept preparing the body. Then I felt someone place a pack of wipes in my hand. Thinking my staff nurse had returned, I looked up to speak to him, but to my shock, I saw him just entering the room from the hallway, still holding the unopened pack of wipes. No one had given me anything. My heart raced as I realized I had just experienced something unexplainable. I was left terrified and shaken, convinced I had encountered something paranormal. It was an unforgettable and deeply unsettling moment during my first internship, one I'll never forget. Yeah,
I think the hospital, there are many stories like this.
but I think at that time, David was just an intern.
Yeah.
He was likely just very young.
But I think you actually,
Anyone would be scared if this happened, no matter their age.
yeah, whether you're an intern or working full time at the hospital, you'll encounter things like this, I think. Really? Because we have a lot of these like stories from the hospital.
Yeah, but in this case, he just saw Uncle A go to the bathroom 3 times. But actually, his body was already cold. But if his body was already cold, that means he might have already been gone for quite a while. It could be, maybe for 2 hours. I think 2 hours is enough, right? But he also saw someone go to the restroom.
Maybe he's just someone who can see things. Maybe it's also that Uncle A wanted him to see it, you know?
Yeah, maybe Uncle A wanted him to see it and then wanted to tell him, you guys didn't notice that I was gone. So he just kept, to show some presence.
Yeah.
It's like she wanted to get his attention, to attract his attention, to make him notice her. He kept going to the restroom 3 times.
Oh my god.
Several times, yeah.
This reason is easily explained.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe he just thought you were busy with your report and I had already left, but you didn't notice.
He was alone caring for 5 patients, right? 5 patients.
Hello, coma family relative. Right. Yeah, it should be like that. Okay, sorry, David. I'm not blaming you. I know. I know being a nurse is a really, really exhausting job. Could you say that to all our medical team in Singapore?
Okay, our second story is CK wrote this for us. Okay, this story happened when he was living in Jurong West as a child. This happened back when I was in primary school when I was 11 and my younger brother was 8. Even now, 19 years later, he still tears up whenever I bring up what happened that day. Oh no. Okay, that afternoon, our dad had driven us out for lunch. Afterwards, he decided to wash his vehicle at a nearby multi-story car park. So my mom brought my younger brother and me to play on our scooter at the HTB void deck directly opposite. We were riding around, having fun, slowly drifting further away from our mom. Eventually, we reached one of these common ramps you often see at HTB void decks, the kind with railings on both sides and a few trees lining the path. As we scooted halfway up the ramp, I suddenly felt something was off. It was that unmistakable feeling like something was watching us. I stopped in my track. My instincts were screaming that something on my left was watching me. I turned my head and looked towards the tree beside the ramp. My younger brother, who was right behind me, stopped as well and asked why had I suddenly stopped. But I didn't answer. I just kept staring at that tree. He followed my gaze, and we both stood there staring at the same spot, that one tree that felt wrong, eerie off, and then we saw it. The surface of that tree started changing. Facial features began to emerge, as if something beneath the bark was slowly pressing outwards. First, a nose took shape, then lips, then closed eyelids. It wasn't some optical illusion. It was a face, a full face, but it had the color and the texture of tree bark. I knew immediately that this was something supernatural. But for some reason, neither of us could look away. I remember really trying to turn my head, but I couldn't. We just stood there, frozen, as the eyelids slowly began to open, revealing blood-red eyes. And then the face turned to look directly at us. Its bloody red eyes locked with ours, and its mouth slowly curled into a sinister, twisted smile. I panicked. With every ounce of strength I had, I forced myself to break free of whatever that was holding me. I finally managed to tear my gaze away, spun around and shouted, "Run!" I grabbed my brother by the arm and we ran away very, very quickly. His eyes were still locked onto that thing. He had not moved. So I had to physically drag him with me, sprinting back down the ramp towards our mum. Strangely, we managed to hold on to our scooter the whole time, probably because our hands were clenched so tightly from fear. We reached our mom, breathless and terrified, and told her what had happened. Without hesitation, she brought us straight to our temple to pray. That's it. Wow, I cannot imagine it. What I can't imagine is if I see something like a tree, I would see a face on it, you know?
Yeah, I can't imagine that. Actually, what I'm visualizing now is very much like a scene from a movie.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's kind of like a cartoon, you know, like a tree. Then it turns into a face like that.
But it doesn't sound scary.
Really?
Yeah, because like you say it, you visualize cartoon, but for me, it seems like I visualize something similar. I can only visualize, like, in Harry Potter, isn't there a scene where the tree moves? Oh, right, the tree's face. Yeah, but the tree's pretty fierce, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I imagined, yeah.
I can't think how scary it is, though.
No, I think it's because we're not involved.
Yeah.
So we just can't really understand how they felt at the time.
Okay, the next one was sent to us by our friend from Malaysia.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah, she's Nisha. Nisha sent us so many stories. But we can only choose one, okay? You send so many stories. And among all the stories you sent, I think this one is the scariest. This happened during my first year staying in the dorms, and it messed me up pretty badly afterwards. For a long time, I couldn't sleep with the lights off. I had to be on a sleep call just to feel less alone. I became paranoid and jumpy, spooked at every little thing. Honestly, I wouldn't wish this experience on my worst enemy. It started on a regular evening. My friend and I'm Chinian and my friend's Chinese. We went out to get dinner around 7:30 p.m. We didn't make it back till close to 8 because we were waiting on our burgers. We also got lychee milkshakes, but we never got to drink them. On our way back, we suddenly heard someone murong. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's the best way I can describe it. It sounded like someone wailing or crying loudly. At first, we thought it was just someone crying on the phone, but something felt off. It was too loud, so we started looking around. That's when we saw her, a girl crouched on the balcony floor, crying uncontrollably. Then, to our horror, she started banging her head on the floor really hard. We were on the ground floor and tried calling out to her, but she didn't respond. My friend kept watch while I started frantically calling people, friends, member of provincial parliament, the student council, anyone I thought could help. Even the residential fellow wasn't around at the time. I was still panicking when my friend couldn't take it anymore and ran upstairs. By then, the whole block had started watching. Everyone knew something was going on, except for the girl's own housemates. Not wanting to let my friend go up alone, I ran up after her and entered the house. The balcony door was unlocked and the girl was still outside, crying and hitting her head. Only after we entered did the other girls in the house come out of their rooms. They looked confused, almost indifferent. They said things like, "Oh, she's like that sometimes," but it wasn't a big deal. That shocked us even more than anything. Later, some older girls arrived and we tried to pull her back in by her ankles. One of them called her name repeatedly and somehow managed to get her attention. That's when the girl on the balcony looked at us and said something that made my heart drop. I just want it to end. We knew then that we had to get her inside no matter what. I tried grabbing her feet, but every time I reached out, I felt a deep sense of dread. I was reciting prayers under my breath, and every time I touched her, she flinched like it hurt her. Finally, we managed to grab her ankles and put her back inside. We locked the sliding door and stood guard so she wouldn't run out again. Inside, she was crying and flailing, clearly not in control of herself. A few moments later, another girl arrived, someone I didn't know back then, but later I found out she was my junior. She was experienced in these things, so she asked my Chinese friends and me to help pin the girl down while she tried to ubakin her. Ubakin means to spiritually cleanse. Here's the part that scared me the most. While I held down the girl's ankle, I felt something trying to enter my hands. I kept praying and holding on, but I was shaking and on the verge of breaking down. My friend felt it too. She's a strong taekwondo athlete. But her legs, which were pinning the girl down, went numb within seconds. That had never, ever happened to her before. About 10 seconds later, my junior told us to let go. I immediately released my grip and left the house. I was feeling nauseous and overwhelmed. My friend followed the junior and came out shortly after. She told us she asked us to let go because she heard a voice telling her not to meddle. After we let go, my friend and junior both saw something. They described it differently, but both saw something. My friend saw just the head and the long hair of a woman floating away into one of the bathrooms and through another balcony. My junior saw the full apparition, a woman in white with her head down and long black hair. As I sat outside trying to calm myself down, I noticed red marks starting to appear on my neck, as if someone had tried to strangle me. After that, things got worse. I fell sick often. My moods were low. I got easily sullen and constantly felt like something was following me. I recovered and I'm okay now. The girl also got the help she needed. Later on, I went to a temple to talk to the medium about the incident. When I told her what happened, she immediately got chills and refused to say much. All she told me was to take care of myself before helping others. She said I wasn't strong enough yet to handle things like this, and that spirits could enter my body through touch. She said one last thing just before ending the session that still gives me goosebumps. She said that night there wasn't just one spirit. There were several watching from the crowd below, and she refused to say anything more.
Wait,
Who said that?
who said there was more than one?
The medium.
Then she knows two?
I guess because she is the medium. But one thing is,
but she's not over there.
But one thing is the medium, like when Nisha told the medium what happened, right? That medium had chills.
medium had chills
Like, I feel like if this
如果
thing could
这个事
make that
情能够让
master
那个
or
师傅
Taoist priest
还是
get
道
goosebumps
士
or
有
feel uncomfortable,
毛
it
战，还是
must
觉得
really
不
be
不
something unusual. Because they should be, used to seeing these things and not afraid of them. But
如果那个
if even the
庙
master at that
那个
temple
庙的
is
那个
scared and
师
doesn't
傅
want to
都
talk much about it, then it must be something really, really fierce.
Maybe it's something fierce because he even said Nisha, right? Nisha also said that after that, every time she didn't feel well,
Yeah.
it took a while before she got better.
Yeah,
for-
but
for
for
那个
that
那个
temple, maybe the medium
庙的那
said
个
she had chills and
the
didn't want to
medium
say
to
anything
say-
more.
to have
I
chills
think
and
that's
don't want
not
to say anything
simple.
more.
Like,
我觉得不简单 like
I also feel like obviously it's not simple. It's just that I wonder, how did the medium know? Like, how did she know how strange it was? Unless she was there, because you know what I mean? If she wasn't there, how would she know which floor they were on? She said there was more than one person downstairs.
that's
When
why
she heard this
hearing
story,
this
she got
story
chills,
gave
right?
her chills. She
Yeah.
might have thought I was at the scene.
Was she there? She didn't say.
If she was there and didn't help, what does that mean?
所以我
So
觉
I
得
think
她
she
是
wasn't at the scene. But then, how did she know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
可以
Can
看
you
到
see it? Past events, right? I'd be really curious.
Yeah.
But I think the story about this dorm is actually pretty scary.
Yeah, actually,
就是
dorms are
宿舍
pretty
其实
dark
还
and
蛮
creepy, and a lot of ghost
在
incidents
很
happen
多
at
闹鬼的事
schools
件都
and
发
in
生在
dorms.
Yeah, there are a lot of stories about dorms, yeah. But and then I think
Nisha
like
的
Nisha's
经验
experiences also.
It's really unfortunate. She just wanted to be a good person. She didn't even know that girl, right? None of you knew that girl. And then she and her friend just went to help. Then, as a result, Nisha, maybe her aura, her energy field wasn't
连就
strong
给
enough.
这个可能
Then
就给
maybe
一些
that
某些
allowed
物体
certain things to enter
进入
her body, and that's why she kept getting sick and all that. But her intentions were good.
I also think that didn't she say some classmates have mentioned, oh, that friend of hers is like that. Like sometimes it's just like that. I just thought, huh? Like, why would other classmates say things like that? Like, if you keep seeing someone always on the floor, right, just constantly banging their head, there must be something wrong.
Yeah, how can they say, like,
Why would they say, oh, actually, sometimes it's like that?
yeah, I don't think it's normal, okay? Her
她的从
classmate, on the
反
contrary, her roommate, actually seems a bit abnormal.
Okay, our next story is from Joshua. She wants to
她
share with
是要
us
和我
about
们
when she lived in Brunei as a child. Oh, should I
住
mention
在
the block?
文雷的时
Go ahead.
Should I say it?
Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, I'll just read his story directly. When I was a kid, my parents and I lived at Brunei Place Block 208 on the 8th floor, right at the corner unit beside the stairs in front of Live C. We lived there from 1998 until March 6th, 2021. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry for friends who are staying there. Back then, when I was about 6 years old, I would go out and play at the nearby playground every night around 7 p.m. until as late as 11 p.m. Usually with a group of friends. But one particular night during the Hungry Ghost Festival, something happened that I'll never forget. That night, I was playing outside and came home late as usual. When I reached the base of my block at Live C, I noticed something strange. The place was completely deserted. The letterboxes on the left were silent and there wasn't any single person around. It felt like a ghost hound. Still, I brushed it off and treated it like just any other night. I pressed the button for the elevator and got in. I live on the 8th floor, so I pressed number 8 and waited. As the elevator started moving up, I stood in the middle, near the glass panel in the door. When we passed the 5th floor, I suddenly saw something that made my heart stop. There was a figure standing right in front of me, a woman with long black hair covering her face, dressed in a long white gown. I jumped in shock, completely frozen. The moment the elevator reached my floor, I bolted out and ran straight home, banging on the gate and door until it finally opened. But that wasn't the end of it. The next night it happened again. This time as the elevator passed the 5th floor, I saw the same figure. Only now she was standing further away from the elevator doors, but clearly visible from head to toe. I could see her white dress and long black hair covering her face. She stood there, completely still. Once again, I ran the moment the elevator doors opened. And then on another night, something even more unsettling happened, this time inside my home. I was lying on the floor, watching television, when I suddenly heard the sound of the elevator door opening on our floor. Normally when that happens, you would hear footsteps or voices, something to show someone had arrived, but this time there was nothing, just silence. Something felt off. I slowly turned my head from the television to glance toward the back of the house. Behind us we had 2 large frosted glass windows, the blurry kind, and through them I saw it. The shadow of a head slowly passed by outside without a sound, no footsteps, no movement, no noise, just the shadow gliding past. I quickly muted the television and held my breath. The shadow paused and then slowly turned toward the window as if it was trying to look inside. I stayed completely still, trying not to breathe. Once it finally turned away, I crept quietly to the door and looked out through the peephole. What I saw next sent chills down my whole body. Ah, me too. Oh my goodness. There was a little girl floating outside. Her feet were not touching the ground. Oh my god, I'm getting chilled just like you, Joshua. Oh my goodness.
You're brave. He
勇
even
敢
dares
欸
to look.
He even checked.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wow, oh my god.
Yeah, man.
I think so what he kept seeing was that thing. It was a little girl.
Looking through the peephole is a really
是一个
scary,
很恐怖
really
很恐怖很
frightening
怕人的
thing.
事情。
Yeah,
因为
because you
不懂
don't know
是不是
like
在
what's on like the other side of the
Yeah, out there.
peephole.
You'll get a jump scare or something similar.
Yeah, why you're still scared, so you turn off the television. But
可是你等
after
他
she
走了
leaves, then you go and check again, see where she
在哪里
is.
啊？你在为
Wait,
什么
why
要
does Joshua
关
have
电
to
视
turn off the television? I would have blasted it very loud and in order. Keep all the lights on.
No, I think he was scared, so he turned off the sounds and pretended no one was there. Do you understand? He didn't even dare to breathe, you know. So he muted his television, and then he didn't even dare to breathe or anything like that.
Do you think that's right? I don't understand.
I don't understand.
I think if it were me, I would make that home really lively.
Okay, usually people say, if you're scared, if you're afraid that thing will come, like mess with you or something, you should be really loud. Oh, what? You know, or like, don't bother me, don't come and annoy me.
Because you have to think, the fewer people there are, right? These supernatural things are more likely to want to get involved, move in, and take over as their own. So you shouldn't turn off the
不应该
television,
关掉电视
Joshua.
机，
Next time, if this ever happens again,
He won't do it
他不会
anymore, he's
啦
grown up now.
I highly recommend, like, for anyone, okay, don't go and make it a quiet, silent environment, okay?
把你的
Make your
周围弄到
surroundings as
越热
lively
闹
as
越好。
possible.
No, but have you noticed? His home is in the corner, Connor, in the corner.
Oh, right.
But what I'm really curious about is, she lives on the 8th floor. Isn't the 8th floor supposed to mean prosperity?
Maybe
I mean,
it's
我刚
just
好
that
看
her floor doesn't get any sunlight, like No sunlight at all.
But the eighth floor is usually known for prosperity. It's supposed to bring good fortune.
It's dark.
Chinese people favor the number 8 because it sounds like prosper. But I think also because your home is in the corner, and thank you for giving us this information. Do you understand? Yeah, because maybe corners usually don't have a lot of people, so these supernatural events are more likely to happen there.
Okay, our last story is from Zacky. He even gave his story a title. Q. The Night I Wasn't Alone. Here's what happened. It happened on a quiet night while I was sleeping in my parents' room. For several nights leading up to this, I'd been feeling strangely anxious after that. Though I couldn't quite explain why, there was always a lingering sense of unease, like something unseen was watching me. A few nights earlier, I had a nightmare that still lingered in my mind. In the dream, I was at my grandmother's house in Malaysia, a landed property with a backyard behind the kitchen. At the gate beyond the yard, a man stood over there. He wore glasses and stared at me with an expression so sinister, so piercing. It felt like he was looking straight into my soul. His gaze was filled with malice, a silent threat. I had never seen him before, yet the dream felt disturbingly real. When I woke up, I was drenched in fear, unable to shake the feeling that something was wrong. Then came that night. My parents were fast asleep beside me when I drifted into another unsettling dream. This time of shadowy wizards casting spells, their voices echoing in the dark void of my mind. Suddenly, around 3 a.m., I jolted awake. The room was pitch black, and for a moment, everything was silent. Then I heard it, a faint rhythmic creaking. It sounded like wood straining under pressure. At first it was subtle, almost ignorable, but it grew louder, more distinct, and then stranger sounds began to join in. An eerie, unsettling mix of noises that didn't belong. I scanned the room in the dark, my heart racing, checking on my parents. They were still sound asleep. Completely unaware, I couldn't pinpoint where the sounds were coming from. Then I shifted in bed and sat up straight. The noise suddenly stopped. It felt like something had been sitting or crouching on a wooden bed frame where my father lay. And when it realized I had noticed, it floated, still there, watching, waiting. I didn't even have time to process the fear before another sound emerged. From the living room outside came the unmistakable click of a light switch being flicked. Then again and again, the sound started slowly but quickly escalated, faster, louder, more aggressive. It was as if someone was furiously turning the lights on and off, yet no light spilled in from underneath the door. At first, I tried to rationalize it. Could it be the neighbors? But that didn't make sense. The walls were thick, practically soundproof, and no other switch sounded like ours. Our light switches had a very specific, distinct click. Then it hit me. The sound was coming from inside my own home. The lights weren't turning on. There was no glow, just the furious, hollow clicking of switches being flicked in the dark. I wanted to scream to wake my parents, but something deep inside me told me not to. I remembered what I had once been told. Don't acknowledge these things. The moment you do, they know and they get stronger. So I shut my eyes, lay still, and pretended I heard nothing. Eventually the sound faded, the flicking stopped, and the room fell silent again. I don't remember how I managed to fall back asleep, but to this day I still wonder, why didn't I wake my parents? If it happened now, I absolutely would, but that night I didn't. Maybe deep down, I already knew something was trying to lure me out of that room. And if I had stepped out into the living room, I might not have been alone. Good job. Good job, Zacky. You made the right choice, the right decision.
Yes, I think you did very well. No, that voice didn't tempt you.
Yes, yeah. So actually, you see, it's also very contradictory. Just now we said, you shouldn't be quiet, right? Didn't we just mention that if you have these things, you should make your place lively? But now he says like you shouldn't
不要去
acknowledge
承
their
认他们的错。
existence. But I don't think it's about acknowledging their existence. It's just if you wake your parents up, at that time, if you wake them up, they would also.
No, I think acknowledging their existence is like, oh my God, there's one over there, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like he's there, but you just like say something
就是
about them.
讲一句
Maybe
about
you
他
turn
们。
off the television or turn it up a bit louder. They might not understand, about their existence.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think like just like acknowledge is this kind of way. Yeah, it's not like wow, you they're over there, you turn off the television, that's your way of acknowledging them. I don't think it's like that.
That is sure.
Sure,
So,
so-
Yeah.
but it's possible that if he wakes his parents up, he could just turn on all the lights, the room lights, turn on the room lights, then wake them up, right? And when they ask him what's wrong, he doesn't want to say. He might just say something like, "It's nothing. I just wanted you to keep me company for a bit." Maybe if you say something like that, right? Your parents or the
人
people
就
around you
会
will
明白
understand what's going
发生
on.
Maybe he
他自
was
己当时
scared
也
himself at the time because really, if you were in that situation, if you haven't experienced it yourself, you really
你
can't
真的是无
understand
法
what they
会
were
去
thinking
理
at that
解
moment, you
他们
know?
当时
Maybe it's like later on you'll think, oh, I should have woken up my parents or something like that.
If it were you, what would you do?
I haven't really thought about it. I think I'm the type who would just quietly pretend they're not there.
What if you were alone?
I don't want to think about it like that.
Huh? Okay, so
I am scared.
I think if it were me and I wasn't alone, right, I would definitely wake up the people next to me and then I would turn on the lights. Okay, but I wouldn't acknowledge his existence. I wouldn't admit that he exists. I might just tell the people around me, it's nothing. I just wanted to wake you up to keep me company for a bit and then keep the lights on. Then I'd say it's fine. Let's just sleep with the lights on. That's what I would say. If I were alone, I would turn on the lights right away and then I might start scrolling through TikTok.
Huh?
Get this shaken off yourself. Yeah, start
开始
scrolling
来这边
TikTok here. Just
刷
keep scrolling
TikTok，
like
拼命地
crazy.
刷
Start.
I think it's fine if I'm not at my own home, say abroad, no matter where I stay, whether it's an Airbnb, hotel, or friend's place. I think I would sleep with the lights on because I'd be scared.
That's fine.
I'm worried that turning off the lights will make my mind wander. Yeah, so I think it's best not to let your mind wander. Yeah, maybe
then
your
your
way
way
works
thing.
too. I don't know.
Yeah, but when I lived abroad by myself, I always kept the lights on until late and the television was always on too.
Okay, so these are our 5 stories. Thank you all 5 of you for sharing your scary ghost stories with us. Okay, so, if you get chosen, if your story gets chosen, you
你就
will
会收
receive a
到一
gift.
个礼
It's
就是
our
我们的
Hellbank
Hellbank
merch.
merch,
Okay. I'm not going to tell you what you'll get. You'll know when you receive it. Okay? So, okay, for
那些
those
没有被
stories
选
that
中的
weren't
故事
chosen, don't be discouraged. We have many more episodes and you can still share them with everyone. If you have a story or a new story,
Ghost stories.
yes, new ghost stories, scary ones, just send them to us, okay? You can also write an email. We have a Google form. You can also share your story with us there.
That's right.
So,
So thank you all for
谢谢你们，又陪我
joining
们
us
度
for
过了这
another
一
episode. Also, let me mention here, don't forget about our membership. Okay, you can join our member, Hellbank member, and you can also check out our merchandise. Okay, our products are actually very useful, really practical.
Yes.
And don't forget to vote for me on the day of the Red Star Awards. You can vote as many times as you want. Okay, thank you. Remember to like and subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Also, turn on the bell. Ding ding.
I forgot again. Oh my god.
It's okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.